Ah, Tom, so many big, long videos in the works. Let's do something fun and easy this week. That and my OCD demands all sides of the coin be addressed. Thanks, Toby, or however you like it pronounced, Warlord. This is your fault. Who are the most heroic and virtuous characters of the A Song of Ice and Fire series? But first, since I forgot to do this in the last video, and the overlords let us know about it via our impressions and analytics, like, subscribe, algorithm, praise it, for the love of the seven, praise it, and our Discord is here, and our Patreon is here. Over on Patreon, you can get access to videos early, and also hear our video voiceovers in their entirety, since to those with keen ears, you might notice Tom does indeed make that, and I do tend to ramble into topics of personal interest quite often. You know, Tom, just like the other day when I was discussing the implications of... Like the evil characters video, it's important to note everyone has their own line with what they define as heroic and virtuous. Someone who might be considered a hero to one person may be seen as a war criminal by another. Like evil, it's very subjective, so just remember that going in. What we're looking at for our grading curve are factors like selflessness, valor, bravery, and yes, they are two separate things, and honor, combined with little to no morally questionable stains on their character or grey motivations in their good actions, i.e., purity of heart in intention is a must. I know that's like finding a unicorn in a world like this, and they don't last long, but surely some characters can meet this hefty criteria. Right? Well, let's find out. So, jumping in and kicking things off at number 8, we have Syrio Forel. What, Tom? No, this isn't just an excuse to use our new Bravos-inspired music that I am currently in love with. Syrio is genuinely good to the core. Not much time is spent with the guy on screen or in the pages, but my word, the impression he leaves is nothing short of legendary. We don't know an awful lot about him, but everything we do have paints Syrio as kind, compassionate, loyal, and exceedingly brave. His interactions with Arya are some of the most heartwarming scenes in both mediums, and you really do get the sense that, like Yoda from Star Wars, he is firm and strict, but also playful and kind as a teacher. But what really cements Syrio's invitation to this party is this moment. What you've got to realize here is that Syrio has absolutely no incentive to stand in the way of these guys, other than to protect an innocent child whom he has no familial ties to and is merely daughter to a client. He gives his life to defend her for no other reason than it's simply the right thing to do. If that's not an overt display of virtue and heroism, then what is? Honestly, the only reason he's down at the bottom is the time spent with him, and what we know is definitely not enough for a true read. He stepped up in a moment when it counted, but you still can't rule out that he may have been a real asshole in other areas of life. I don't think that personally, but with such limited interaction, you kind of can't rule it out. At number 7, it's the lefty whose heroism is hefty, Qhorin Halfhand. Quite possibly the most exceptional member of the Night's Watch. Qhorin's nobility and bravery really does make you understand why the Watch was once revered as a charge for only the most honorable of heroes. What sets him apart from his brothers and grabs him a spot on this list is his compassion and respect for his enemy. He totally gets the wildlings' cause and understands they are good people. They're just on the other side of the conflict. His willingness to lay down his life and that of his men to give Jon and the Watch a fighting chance only further reinforces this hero status. He's understanding, selfless, brave, with a good old dose of valor and honor. Qhorin ticks every box you would want in a hero, which is why he lasts all of one small section of one book. That's now hero number 2 taken out in short order. I'm sensing a pattern here, Tom. At number 6, it's the greatest hype man since Flavor Flav, Sir Davos Seaworth. Now, it's an incredibly close-guarded secret on this channel that I veer a slight preference towards reverence of the menace. But no amount of Stannis simpage is going to get him the invite to this gathering. He's about as grey as you can get, while still sort of having a case for good guy status. However, the same cannot be said of his trusty hand Sir Davos. He's not heroic in the typical sense of being a chivalrous warrior defending the innocent, but when push comes to shove, the guy always seems to have the courage to do the morally right thing, even if it means pissing off his king and this scary bitch. Seriously, what has she got that I haven't, Manus? I have green sight and scary forest magic and... Oh. A lot of people will point to his aiding of the starving folk in Storm's End as his defining act of benevolence. The books, while still partly maintaining this motivation, do infer Davos was very aware of the lucrative opportunity from a financial standpoint. It's in the little acts that show Davos's true virtuousness and heroic qualities. His freeing of Edric, well, Gendry for the show, despite knowing full well he will incur his king's wrath. His attempted murder of this anti-villain bitch. The time he spends with the ostracized Shireen. And let's not forget, it's Davos who has the heaviest hand in persuading Stannis to aid the Night's Watch. And while he is no good at fighting, he's still brave enough to go into battle. Unlike some of the most noble knights, he's willing to speak what he deems the truth, and does not stand idly by when men wish to do bad deeds and punish the innocent. As was the case with Sir Axel Florent, who wanted those who remained at Claw Isle, which was mainly women, children, and old men, punished for the failure and surrender of the men who fought for Stannis at Blackwater. You could argue it's common sense not to pillage your former men's homes to send a message, but many others didn't stand up to challenge this morally abhorrent motion. But know who has 4 fingers and 2 thumbs who did? That's right. A shady past, to be sure, but a scoundrel with a heart of gold nonetheless. Han Solo, take a hike. At number 5, the young wolf, it's Robb Stark. Look, we didn't say these heroic and virtuous guys couldn't be really, really stupid. Say what you want about Robb's questionable decisions, but you cannot deny the guy's cause was just and his intentions pure. At the end of the day, he went to war to save his father. He accepted the crown because his people were tired of the South stepping on them, and in a monumentally moronic moment married Jane solely to protect her honor. To top this off, he fought on the front lines, refusing to let others fight his battles for him, and cared about the men under his command. It legitimately hurt him when he had to make war-necessitated sacrifices. In a rare case of keeping things balanced in the world, Robb also applies the same sense of justice to his own men as he would his enemy, as seen when he executed Rickard Karstark and hanged his accomplices for murdering innocent prisoners under his watch, even though this was to his detriment. No DNA test is needed here, Jeremy Kyle, you scumbag fuck. This is Ned Stark's son. Robb really did have a noble heart. Dude just needed to learn to keep it in his fucking pants. By the 7, you frustrate me, young wolf. At number 4, it's the tree the previous apple didn't fall far from. It's good old Ned Stark. He may not be the greatest warrior, nor the shrewdest politician, but by every measure, Ned Stark is one of the most heroic and virtuous characters in the entire series. He's got the basics down to a T, he's kind, brave, honorable, etc., but I think what really sinks in his placement is his behavior post-rebellion. I don't think it's a stretch to say that Ned was profoundly affected by the deaths of Princess Elia and her children, and possibly blamed himself with the old, "if only I got there sooner" adage only hindsight instills plaguing him. But it seems he learned from the experience and devoted his life thereafter to protecting innocents. First with Jon, then Dany, and even with Cersei's children. And lastly, though it's show only, George has said he likes to believe this happened in the books, Ned's very last heroic act is to in fact save Arya via alerting Yoren. But it's in how he extends the courtesy to Cersei, warning her to flee with her children, that should really be emphasized here. Many other men would have hung her out to dry along with her children. Sure, hang Joffrey because he's a fucking piece of shit, but Myrcella and Tommen, they're good kids, come on. Like with Robb, it just goes to show Ned is just, but also doesn't lack compassion for the innocent and believes they shouldn't be made to pay for the crimes of the mother, uncle, aunt, father? You get the fucking point. All of this shielding puts a lifelong sword over his head, with the penultimate one causing his death. Yet he never wavered once in his duty to protect those who couldn't protect themselves. Just an all-round stand-up guy is our Ned. I will not hear it different. For number 3, we're backing that bastard, Jon Snow. Is this coincidence, or are you trying to make it like poetry, so it rhymes, Tom? Because if memory serves me right, wasn't that bastard Ramsay Snow the number 3 for the evil bastards list? Either way, I approve. The argument can definitely be made that Jon is kind of the main hero of the story. Assuming he does get revived, of course. Release the book and let us know, George. My patience is wearing thin, and if this carries on for much longer, I will deceive Ramsay into thinking Stannis' camp is located at your address. All the best and tatty bye now. So, of course it only makes sense for Jon to have heroic qualities. He's immensely brave, extremely compassionate, a naturally benevolent leader, and for the most part, pretty darn selfless. Come on! The guy gave up a happy life with this foxy lady in exchange for service to a wall-worshipping cult in an icy hellhole, with one of the primary vows being lifelong celibacy. Man knows what sacrifice is. I do think it's worth pointing out, though, that Book Jon and Show Jon are a little different in personality. Show Jon is your quintessential good guy protagonist. Book Jon, while still easily heroic and virtuous enough to warrant placement, can be a tad more cold and callous, but it's never done out of malice and for the most part is very justified. Even in the books, he struggles with the death of innocents, blowing his cover when tasked with killing the old man at the Queen's Crown. I guess being exceptionally foolish really does run strong in Stark blood. Though Rhaegar wasn't particularly smart either, so if R+L does in fact equal J, Jon was doubly fucked on that front, so maybe we should cut him some slack. However, his crowning moment and most heroic deed, I would posit, is letting the wildlings through the wall. Sure, in a pragmatic sense, it stops them turning into ice zombies, so you rob your enemy of troops, but on the flip side, you now have to deal with the logistics of an additional 30,000 mouths to feed and house. Not to mention the massive risk of your own turning on you for it, which unlike the show they don't actually do in the books, but the risk was still there. It's noble and heroic, no matter how it's sliced, is the gist of what I'm trying to say. One final thing whilst we're at the wall. I think it's worth shouting out Sam and Maester Aemon. Both are pretty damn pure of heart and heroes in their own way. Just maybe not quite their own spot-worthy, bless them. Anyway, moving on. I'm sick to death of not being able to feel my fucking toes. And it's just not a Fandome listicle if Liam doesn't forget at least one no-brainer entry that causes Tom to facepalm and wonder where he went wrong in his life to end up here. So, inserted in literally a week and a half later at the very last minute, and the honor bestowed upon you the viewer to place them, we have Beric, Thoros, and the Brotherhood without banners pre-Stoneheart. These guys set out to bring justice to one of the most evil characters in the series, that mad dog bastard, Gregor Clegane. A brave or stupid decision, that is up for debate, but a heroic and virtuous act it cannot be denied. Even death could not halt Beric and Thoros' quest to protect the small folk from the horrors of war. And before bringing back this icy cold badass bitch, the Brotherhood behind them could also be held in the same standing. Robin Hood can eat his fucking heart out. At number 2, Brienne of Tarth. And for good measure, let's throw in her trusty squire Pod. Pod is a pretty pure soul. braver than one of his competence should be, and his loyalty is genuinely second to none. I don't think he's quite heroic enough to get his own spot, but 7 hells he's trying, damn it! Brienne, despite not officially holding the title, embodies all the great things about knighthood, with no abuse of power that you often find in this dark, depressing universe. She's brave, an extremely talented warrior, but also honorable, loyal, and chivalrous, embodying one of the quintessential oaths of knighthood that many actually anointed bellends seem to forget: defending the weak. In no better way is this demonstrated than at the Inn at the Crossroads, where she defends a bunch of orphans, despite being outnumbered, and up against some of the most barbaric characters in the series. Those Ramsay-rivaling arseholes, the Brave Companions. She's full of self-doubt and constantly questions herself, but all in all, she always tries to do the morally right thing. No one deserves the title of knight more. Or do they? And at number 1, it's of course Hodor. Who else could it be? Kidding of course, but while not quite top spot material, he does deserve mention. Especially when you find out that this horrendous, heartbreaking scene is a set-in-stone moment from George. He may be a simple soul, but he proves even a simple soul can be the greatest of heroes. Rest in peace, you sweet, gentle giant. Our real number 1 is... Wait! Tom, you've changed my placement here. Duncan the Tall? The guy isn't even part of the main series, which we stipulated was the era we were covering. Fine, let's get this out of the way, then we will have words later in private regarding what you did with my initial placement. Don't do it, Tom. Epitome of... I will kill you and all those that share your bloodline, Tom, of knighthood, and it's arguable he wasn't even a knight to begin with. He stood up to bullies and has very few strikes against him or asterisks to explain away morally questionable things done on his watch. To add to his goodness, he helped raise what would potentially have been a great king had a certain tragedy at Summerhall not taken place. We're super excited to see him in the upcoming live-action adaptation of The Knight of the Seven Kingdoms, so we won't spoil more. But those who know will tell you he's the perfect choice for number 1. Dunk, you might be as thick as a castle wall, but your heart was always in the right place. And that's our take. Thanks for watching. Oh, you bastards! Where the fuck is Alpha Dane and Barristan Selmy? Haha! I knew they wouldn't let you get away with this, Tom. Right. Let it be known that I, Liam, initially had these two joint first.
Coward.
But Tom has made a rather passionate case that they should have that honor revoked, and because we are a democracy here at the Fandome, for now,
You have no power here.
his case must be voiced along with my own, and then you guys in the comments can decide who you agree with and who should be lynched. So, my case. What you have here is 2 Arthurian legends. I mean, one of them is literally fucking called Arthur. Knows George, to Onoth, who accidentally stumbled through a portal and wound up in Westeros. And thus what you really have are the only 2 anointed knights in the main series worthy of the title. They're both amazing warriors, to be sure, and both have performed deeds that warrant a diagnosis of heroic badass. One a little more than the other, but let's not open that can of worms. I've only just got the fanboy crybabies to sleep. Now, I don't want to discount there may be some rose-tinted glasses with what characters say about Arthur. But there is legitimately not a single negative thing paired with his name, even from his enemies. He sounds, for all intents and purposes, the perfect knight and protector of the weak. Looking at how he dealt with the small folk during the campaign of the Kingswood Brotherhood only exemplifies this further. You've also got to cut him some slack with how he treats Ned. We take what we know about Ned and expect Dane and his fellow Kingsguard to know this also, when the truth is, they've probably never had much interaction with the guy, if any, and as a second son who's only just started to build his name in this very war, he's practically an unknown quantity. With the bloody history of Westerosi royal families and the recent news of Elia, her children's deaths, and the House of the Dragon being practically wiped out, it wouldn't be a stretch for Dane to assume Ned was there to, finish the job, so to speak. I.e., he probably wasn't trying to be a dick and prevent Ned from seeing his sister. He was probably protecting what he believed may be the last living member of a house he'd sworn to defend with his life. He's still heroic and virtuous in this act. We just all love Ned, so we take his side in what is, at the end of the day, a simple misunderstanding between two good men. And Barristan, I mean, what can I say that you don't know already? Modest, kind, and so damn fucking honorable and virtuous that quite literally everyone, even the most evil of bastards, want him on their team for the good guy PR boost it brings. These are heroes, damn it, Tom! But I do think it's important we hear his take.
I've been looking forward to this.
The white cloaks of these good men are stained red beyond repair. And while I do agree with Tom here, the stain is present, I am of the belief there are heavily implied mitigating factors. But no matter how you try to frame it, these guys stood by whilst the Mad King was playing sick games with Wildfire and you-know-whatting his wife whenever he felt like it, with true justice only coming at the hands of a far more grey, anti-hero type of character who effectively serves as the counterweight to these two. Barristan, we know, would have been at King's Landing to witness these acts. Selmy is obsessed with serving as a Kingsguard, and I have to side with Tom here a little. He only has these epiphanies about serving good and just kings when he's booted out. But Arthur wasn't at Rickard's trial, so why is he getting dunked on? Well, come on guys, he likely would have been at King's Landing for a lot of the shithousery from Ares, and only missed this one because he was helping Rhaegar acquire, kidnap, escort, however you think it went down, Lyanna Stark, which was the primary catalyst for Bobby's rebellion, which caused countless deaths. The man was living it up at the Tower of Joy on his deck chair, topping up his tan, drinking some nice Dornish red, whilst while Westeros is plunged into a devastating civil war, the main causal moment of which he was an accessory to. Fuck, that's a pretty strong argument, Tom. I feel like the noose has just been put round my neck. But here's why I think Tom has maybe been a little too harsh about stripping away their heroic accolades and placement. It's heavily implied, especially so with Arthur, that they weren't sitting by doing nothing, and that they were in fact coordinating with Rhaegar in order to remove the crazy bastard more tactfully, which in turn could have ensured a more peaceful transition of power and potentially saved more lives in the long run, had Rhaegar not been a total fucking obsessed idiot with his prophecy shenanigans. But until Winds is out, and this is outright confirmed, Tom has countered quite soundly by stating, this is currently just a theory, and nothing more. And that's our take. For real this time. Did we miss anyone who you think trumps these bastions of morally upstanding heroism, or do you think the order is wrong?